world moves within cycles, kind of like seasons changing. And this is why we're seeing cracks in the housing market, in the stock market, in real estate, in all these different sectors, because not everything can stay up. You know what I mean? And the irresponsible outflow of cash from our country. But what if something altered this cycle? Not with our economy, though, but with nature.
Peter Frumhoff is a climate scientist at Harvard. He says Make Sunsets has drawn attention to geoengineering as a potential response to rising global temperatures and runaway climate change.
I think of solar geoengineering as the worst possible way to address climate change that we need to take seriously.
What exactly is solar geoengineering?
A set of proposed technologies to rapidly cool the Earth by reflecting sunlight back into space.
The idea is based on the cooling effect of volcanic eruptions. When Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines erupted in 1991, it spewed 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the sky. That reflected so much sunlight, global temperatures dropped by an entire degree the following year.
So one notion is that we could mimic those volcanic eruptions by sending specially equipped airplanes into the stratosphere to do exactly the same thing.
Well, sounds like a great plan, huh? What the heck could go wrong? Well, everything. I mean, I've heard of villains in cartoons talk about blocking the sun because that's kind of a really big deal, right? Our life here on Earth relies on the sun shining down on us. And of course, I understand that they don't want to block out the sun, but logically, you have to think that there is a chance that something goes wrong. I mean, a lot of things have gone wrong in the past 3 years. Man, are we supposed to just think that these quote unquote experiments will work out perfectly? Do you guys remember the episode of The Simpsons where they predicted the future? Now, I know what you guys are asking. Which one, right? They supposedly got so many future world events right. You know, it's uncanny that they're still doing it to this day. Now, if you guys watch it, then you would know who Mr. Burns is. The greedy businessman who at one point he wanted to take over everything so that everyone will pay him for, well, everything that they need. So one episode has him talking about blocking out the sun so that residents in their town would have to keep their electric heating and lights on all day long. But of course, that's fiction. I know that, you know that, but fiction may become reality if global warming got so bad that they would call it something like, I don't know, global boiling?
Climate change is here, it is terrifying, and it is just the beginning. The era of global warming has ended, the era of global boiling has arrived. The air is unbreathable, the heat is unbearable, and the level of fossil fuel profits and climate inaction is unacceptable. Leaders must lead. No more hesitancy, no more excuses, no more waiting for the others to move first. There is simply no more time for that. It is still possible to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius and avoid the very worst of climate change, but only with dramatic, immediate climate action.
Immediate action. Well then, that brings us to none other than billionaire playboy philanthropist Bill Gates. Without the playboy part, of course, and a little shaky on that philanthropist part as well. So anyway, the billionaire Bill Gates, that's better. He ain't giving up that money. So back in 2018, Gates and the European Commission, they launched this huge clean energy fund with 100 million pounds.
Less than a year ago, at the One Planet Summit in Paris, we launched together our pilot partnership between the European Commission and the Breakthrough Energy Coalition. And today, we, the public and private investors, are showing that we walk the talk in order to catalyze investment in Europe for breakthrough innovation. This investment fund of 100 million euros, it's first of a kind, and it was set up in a record time, and it really demonstrates a new approach to public-private partnership.
If we look at the world as a whole, the total amount of energy used over the next 50 years is going to double. And we want economies to grow. The amount of steel, cement, food, meat that gets produced globally, that is going to increase. But at the same time, we need to slash global emissions.
And so these funds were meant to support and invest in what they're calling radical energy technologies. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really feel comfortable hearing radical within the context of doing something on a global scale. Y'all know what I mean, right? Especially when we're talking about the likes of Bill Gates. Like, it's okay within the context of skateboarding, surfing, or some other extreme sport, but for climate change, yeah, that doesn't sound like a comforting term to me. And this is what they're showing us. Have you guys seen the Greenland ice sheets? So they have a before and after thing going on, and it's honestly very convincing. But the Earth revolves around the sun. I mean, that's common sense. And it's not like these ice sheets are just affected solely by the sun, right? There are many other factors to take in, so showing us two pictures doesn't necessarily prove to me that the melting rate is rising, but it's showing that a small, tiny speck of ice in the area is affected. Not that it hasn't happened year over year. Now, again, cycles, folks, it's normal. And what they're not going to tell you is that the numbers back in 2020 show the Earth's temperature has actually dropped slightly. But everything for this radical change, huh? Also, and I got a question. Who was the genius that elected Bill Gates to take on these, how do I call them? Missions? Challenges? I don't know how to call them, because it looks like this guy just kind of wants to solve problems that aren't even there. It's like creating a huge problem and then coming in as a hero who can solve it. If that's the case, he would be perfect to run for government office. You know what I'm saying? But here's the most, how do I call this, insane part of this story. You want to know how they're going to block out the sun's rays? Well, the plan is that planes will go and spray an aerosol like sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere. And wait, aerosol? I thought that was bad for the ozone layer or something like that. Or maybe they're talking about something different, huh? Anyway, so this aerosol would reflect the sun back upwards, kind of like giving the sun a dose of its own medicine, huh? Say goodbye to vitamin D, folks. We don't need that stuff. We could just buy Mr. Burns' vitamins. I just can't help but thinking about the plan because, well, let me get this straight. They want us on renewable energy, which includes the sun. Am I right? So if we switch over to solar panels and all that stuff, what happens then? I mean, am I crazy worrying about that? I don't think so, because let's look back in history. Not with Mount Pinatubo, but with Mount Tambora. This one's located in Indonesia, and its eruption back in 1815 was so massive, it was the largest volcanic eruption ever recorded. The eruption only happened between April 5th to the climax on April 10th, but the smoke and the ash, it bypassed the entire northern hemisphere, which led to 1816 being called the year without a summer. This caused crop failures and food shortages, with around 100,000 people dying within the next decade due to the volcanic winter. I mean, it's stuff like this that they're not going to tell you guys. And to be honest, it got me thinking, because I'm hoping that this isn't a sure thing, if this happens, who's assuring us that nothing will go wrong? That crops and food will still be in stock and continue to be in stock even when this, like I keep saying, radical plan happens. But as I do with all my videos, I just want you guys to share your opinions in the comment section down below, because I want to hear from you guys. Comment section is wide open. Please comment down below. I respect you guys' opinions. Before I go, by the way, appreciate you guys dropping a like for the video. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate all the new subscribers. If you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. There's a link in the description down below this video, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next one.